Hi everyone, Fiona and Kate here from Core Confidence, and here we are in April, and definitely in different circumstances than we imagined we would be. And as a result of that, we've been thinking about what would be really useful from a core confidence point of view in this month. And the thing that came to us was this whole topic of communication and relationships. You know, there's a lot of this that we're being tested with at the moment. There's a lot of people finding it tricky and difficult. And we really thought we could open up and talk about a few topics. And to get us started today, we really wanted to focus on, so what is it that you need? And if we can get clear about that, and if we can talk to people about that, and we can get clear about what others need, what will that mean in terms of our communication and also enhancing our relationships as opposed to having dissonance or difficulty with them?
Yeah, I mean, this really talks to chapter 5 of the book, Build Relationships. We know that when we have certainty around how people, how people might respond, what's important to them. It's something I talk a lot around building influence, getting clear about what others value so that you can actually look at how do you build influence and achieve outcomes. That actually, once we've got more certainty around that naturally we feel more confident. We feel more confident going and asking questions. We feel more confident asking for what we need. So I think it's a really useful time to maybe really look at some of those relationships. I think it's important that we don't apply a one-size-fits-all strategy here, because what we've seen anecdotally is people feel like there's way too much kind of communication. But for some people, that's going to be the perfect amount, right? I know a bunch of my friends who are quite extroverted. They really love the social connection, and really they stayed in the office as long as they could because they wanted to go to the office. They wanted to connect and be around others. And so for them, that might be the right level of connection. It might be the right level of communication. And then for others, they're just like, just leave me alone. I just want to get on with it and get things done. So I think that's an important piece, twofold. One, for you, what is it you're needing in terms of relationship? And I think there's a key piece here around purpose and right sizing. Is it about connection? Is it around accountability? Are we connecting daily to connect socially and just to maintain that connection from a relationship point of view? Or actually, are there things to discuss and it's actually like a business conversation? And I think there's possibility that we actually need to separate things, but certainly we need to get clear about what you need and also what your people need if you're a leader. And really, I guess, stepping up and being active in that space.
Yeah, and there's so many ways that we have opportunities to connect in. And, obviously one of the easiest ones is to ask. But because for some of us, we're feeling quite frantic and we've got a lot to do. And, I've got, working with some clients who there's a lot of push in terms of regulatory requirements, and they've got to get new packages sorted and they've got to get stuff out to market. And so it feels as though I don't have as much time as I might normally have, or I don't meet you in the corridor. I see you, in the kitchen and that sort of thing, and have those little, incidental connections that we would normally get in the office. So it's important to get really conscious about this. And as we're saying, really think about what is appropriate for each person. So the first piece is what's appropriate for me. Where am I maybe feeling less connection or less engaged with people? And if it is those little incidental conversations, just make sure that you are having those at some point. So if you are at least recognizing and hearing some of the stuff that you might do just in the run of things, and you're still connecting on that level. And then at the same time, if there are specific business things that you're making sure you're allowing enough time and you're really getting the clarity around that. And also where people are struggling. This is one that we're also seeing that sometimes it feels harder to raise my hand or to say, you know what, I think I know what you mean here, or I've done half this project, but I'm not sure if I'm on the right track. If I was bumping into the office, I'd easily ask that question. But when I've actually got to send you an email or send you a Slack message or send you something that's half completed, that can feel a lot harder for some people. So getting clear about how do I communicate that and how do I get in good contact and relationship to discuss the stuff that I just need a bit of support and help with.
Yeah, I think that's an important one. I mean, the water cooler conversation you can create, and we've got, we use this, we've got Slack channels, which are just kind of general chit chat. You might share photos, you might share jokes. So just those sorts of creating space for those conversations, I think that's important. But also, you know, twofold as leaders, but also for us to, you know, to be able to look at reaching out and saying, hey, you know, halfway done on this, can you take a look at this? Or just creating space to get feedback. I think when you don't have those incidental kind of run-ins and now everything is a scheduled conversation as opposed to just the ad hoc feedback when, you know, someone's walking by your desk and say, hey, can I grab you for 5 minutes? Just being really kind of leaning into the half done and leaning into feedback. Lots of easy ways to do that. You know, we use Loom, Loom, for that, where we'll review something with a video and say, hey, can you just take a look at this? That means it doesn't have to be a lot of hard work and documents or even Zoom sessions. You know, it can be phone calls, it can be walk and talks, all of those sorts of things. So I think we're going to have to get really creative around the tools that we use to communicate. But I think, you know, that piece around half done and feedback, and it's also a really useful way to build connection with people as well. So, you know, reaching out, particularly, you know, you're not having the opportunity to run into the stakeholders that maybe you would have in the kitchen, in the lift. And so then there's this whole conversation, which we'll have later, around brand and profile. So actually, you know, how do you reach out to those stakeholders and still have some sort of interaction? One of the conversations I was having with a client yesterday was actually a lot of leaders are in overwhelm. And, you know, when they've gone and said, hey, what can I help with? They're like, I've got no idea. I don't know. And actually going to that leader with, okay, well, here's 10 things I think I could help you with. Which are the ones you want me to take off, you know, take off your shoulders? Or even here's the three things I want to do. Here's the 3 things I think I could take over or help out with. You know, do you want me to run with that? And so that's the easy yes as well. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to step up. We've got to make it easy for people, particularly if people are in overwhelm, but getting really clear, you know, what is it that you need? And there's a piece here for you around responsibility. If you need to connect more, then, you know, arrange that, facilitate that. Great stories of clients who are stepping up and leading virtual drinks because that's actually something that they want to do. Or, you know, looking at creating different communication channels because that's important to them. So I think if you need it, lead it. And then if you're a leader, please, duty of care is even higher at the moment. So really being able to check in and create space to support your people and hear and truly hear, even if you are in crisis and there's a lot on, create the space and acknowledge for people, because it is likely that if you've got 10 people, they're all experiencing the current situation very differently.
Yeah, that tailored communication to the individual and understanding your people's preferences and what works for them, absolutely essential in these times. And if you didn't have it before, now is a perfect opportunity to get that clarity around what works for them and what keeps them engaged and motivated. And as we're saying, it's not going to be the same for everybody. So some things you're going to be able to do collectively, but some are going to be much more important to do one-to-one or small groups. And if it's yourself that's in overwhelm, you know, this is actually the time where you can actually put your hand up and actually say that. And your vulnerability in that, your leadership in that, your role modeling of it means it's okay for other people to do it. So the more we can be honest and open about what's going on for us, the more it makes it okay for the people around us. So really encourage you to just speak openly and honestly about what's happening. And that gives others then the opportunity to put their hand up and talk about how they can contribute and what they can offer.
Yeah, nice one. All right, guys, have a great week. Questions, comments, post them in the comments below, and we will see you next week where we'll continue the conversation around communication and confidence.